One of the defenses of CAA is they say the reason that Muslims are not allowed to apply for citizenship is that Muslims are not minorities in the countries that send their immigrants here. So Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, these are not countries with Muslim minorities. And so because they're not a religious minority, they're not at risk of religious persecution. So why should we accept them? We're not meant to, there was some sage or guru who basically said, we're not supposed to accept immigrants. We are a nation with borders, and we should have our sovereignty. We can't just accept everyone in. The only reason we would accept someone in is if they were at risk of persecution. And since Muslims are religious majorities in their countries, they're not at risk of religious persecution. And that is the most compelling argument. That I have heard in favor of CAA. Which, to be fair, is kind of like saying that's the best smelling turd I've ever seen. The problem with this argument is that it very expertly but very dishonestly conflates religious persecution with all forms of persecution. Religious persecution is not the only form of persecution. And a huge portion of persecution on the basis of social identity happens within a religious tribe. And that is so important. If somebody from a Muslim family in Pakistan was facing persecution for being, say, a woman, or being gay, or being transgender, all of which are very much known represented populations and also very much persecuted in the South Asian subcontinent. If one of those people fled their family because they were afraid of getting killed, they were afraid of being, castrated or there's mutilated or anything, any number of things. If they came from a Muslim family, I'm not saying Muslim families are the only ones that perpetrate this. I come from a culture of forced arranged marriage where an old guy looks at the stars and determines when the man and wife are going to consummate their marriage. There's a lot of persecution in every religion. But if you were coming from a Muslim family facing persecution, which, by the way, Hindus and Americans love to moralize against and grandstand against when they're trying to talk about how bad Muslims are, but then when it actually comes to protecting people from persecution from Muslim families, they say, no, not in my backyard. Of course, they don't want you to know that. They want you to think that their argument is tight, but there's a massive hole in it, is that they're conflating religious persecution with all persecution. And if people from Muslim families try to seek solace from oppressive families, they're shit out of luck. So this is a bad argument. And it's important. That is the main point. So anytime someone says, oh, Muslims are a majority in their country, yes, only by religion. But why are they coming here? They're not. Most of them are coming here because they're being treated like garbage by their communities. And it doesn't have to be because they're Muslim. It could be because they're a woman. Could be because they're gay. Could just be because any number of things. Could be because they're a gamer. You know, gamers are the real oppressed people. Probably not because they're gamers. So yeah, anytime a dishonest argument about CAA being about Muslim majority, bring that up. Just say, why is religious persecution the only persecution you can think of? Immediately you can shut it down. Of course, what Hindutva does is they move on to the next topic, but you just got to keep knocking down bad arguments because that's how they win over the center. That's how they win over the center right. And if you keep knocking down those arguments, they're not going to get that snowball going. And that's very, very, very important. And that goes alongside absolute, ardent, unequivocal support for the democratic demonstrations happening in universities all over the country that are being violently oppressed by the police. And the importance of these demonstrations is, A, they show that India does not support CAA, that India is a secular country. But B, it also exposes the Hindu fascist police state for what it is. It is anti-democratic, it is anti-secular, and it will use the military to beat, kidnap, and kill its own people in order to protect itself from dissent.